Hey, everybody. Welcome to Invisible Condition. It's not all in your head. I'm your host, Jeff Pearson, and I just wanted to let you know that we created this show for you, because we want everybody with an invisible condition to know that they have a voice, they have a community, and they are not alone. And speaking of not alone, Dawn is with us, Dawn Livingstone, and you know what? I had an intro that I was gonna read. I'm gonna read it anyway. We're gonna read it anyway. I know I forgot to bring you on after I read this, but I'm gonna read it anyway because why not? And then you'll tell us more, I'm sure, while we're doing the show. But welcome to live TV, everybody. So Dawn specializes in breaking the cycle of fear, addiction, and trauma through education and by finding and dissolving vibrational patterns stored in the mind and body, which kind of blows my mind. So I'm excited to hear about this. She's an experienced coach, author, energy healer, and the proud owner of Voyage of Transcendence LLC. She also hosts the Transcend and Succeed podcast and TV show that inspires her audience to transcend limitations and shift their lives in a positive direction. I'm so glad you're here, Dawn. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Jeff. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Oh man. And the cool thing about this is you and I both have a show on the same network, which is really fun. So this is really cool. So I think it's kind of nice for everybody. You can just say, you know what, go to the same channel. You can find both of them. So it'll be good. So Achieve TV is where it's at. So go there and that's right. And you can watch it after we're done with the broadcast. So Dawn, you specialize in, I think you said, breaking through fear, addiction, and trauma. So we definitely want to figure out how to do that. But first, can you share a little bit about your experience with fear, addiction, and trauma?
Sure. My pleasure. Growing up, really, I was living in fear quite a bit of the time. I was bullied from school, probably from the age of maybe 10 or 11, right up through college. So my fear was going to school and, at the end of the day, not being able to get out of school quick enough to get away from them and getting slapped about after school. So that was one thing I was fearful from. And I didn't realize how traumatic that was on me until many, many years after that, when, all these memories started, coming back and all the emotions were getting triggered, when it was a really horrible thing. And also in my previous marriage, I mean, this has been cycles that I've had just about all my life. So in my previous marriage, this is when I lived in Scotland. I was mentally and emotionally and psychologically and verbally abused for that entire time. I think it was about 14 or 15 years. So during that time, I was very fearful of saying what I wanted to say because, you sometimes get shot down in flames. So there was a fear of speaking my truth there. There was a fear of, being seen, for people thinking I was stupid, this type of thing. Yeah. So really, the fear and the trauma has been something I have lived with for the majority of my life. Now, the addiction part of that came in my previous marriage as well, because it was really a comfort blanket for me. That was my, alcohol was a method of escape for me from all these things I was feeling that I wasn't allowed to express. And I could quite easily sink a bottle of wine every single night. And, it would just take me away and I had no care in the world. Like all your worries would go away. So basically what I was doing with that method of escape was just taking my emotions and ignoring them, being in denial, just sweeping them all under the rug in the hope that they would go away. Yeah. And at the same time, thinking I was, a strong woman for being able to do that. Whereas now, looking back, in hindsight, it's a wonderful thing. But in hindsight, you think I was really, what I was doing there was detrimental to my own health. And it was starting to show towards the end of, of that marriage, that keeping these emotions in was really not doing me any good whatsoever. So that, in a nutshell, is my experience with these three, personally, from my own experience.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that's never, bottling that stuff up is not good for anybody at any time for any reason. I mean, it's an easy, I say easy coping mechanism, right? It's just cover up one problem with another, but yeah.
It's just
In the long
it's
run,
masking the cause of it.
right.
It was just like putting a band-aid on the problem. It's not helping any. It might feel like it is at the time, but it's definitely not. So
Yeah, it's like kind of like putting a band-aid on a gunshot wound, it's
very
just not
true.
gonna
Yes.
it's not gonna do you any good. It's just gonna yeah. So I just want to throw this out there to the audience watching. If anybody out there that's watching this right now is in a spot where they're stuck because of a past experience, a past relationship, a past abuse situation, or anything like that, like we don't need specifics, we don't want you to get into the gory details or anything, but if you want to chat or have a question, this is here she is right here, you've got her, this is the expert right here for the next 40-ish 50-ish minutes. Dawn is here for you, so chime in the chat if you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, wherever. Chime in and we'll get to the question, and she can, and you can reach out and contact her that way too. So anyway, just want to throw that out there. So there is some interaction there that's possible. So getting back to what we're talking about here, what is it? What does low vibrations and blocked emotions mean? Even like I'm not familiar with any of that. What does that mean?
Okay. Emotions it's really energy in motion. It's something that, as humans, when we're emotional beings, and we're meant to experience emotions, what we're not supposed to do is hang on to them. They're supposed to come in, allow us to feel something, and then they're supposed to leave us. So they're just supposed to come all the way in and all the way through and all the way back out again. But what we do is we bottle them up, like I was doing in my previous marriage. Think on it like a volcano, Jeff. Okay. So you've got your volcano and you've got all the lava blooping up underneath. This is your emotions building up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what happens with the volcano when there's too much pressure underneath it? Right?
Oh,
it just explodes, it erupts. And that's exactly what can happen if you don't take care of your emotions. They'll build up to such a level that you'll maybe have, something like a breakdown, or, this big rage, this bout of anger or bout of rage, so that because your body has to fight, it has to release it has to find a way of getting rid of this blocked emotion. So that's really what that's like. Low vibrations, the two of them kind of go hand in hand. Let me just explain a little bit. Do you know what I mean when I talk about a set of Russian dolls?
Yeah, that fit inside each other, and the little bitty one, and then they get a little bigger. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Think about that as your whole body. So, you've got the little solid one on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
That is your physical body. And all the other ones are your mental, your emotional, and all your other spiritual bodies. Okay. Every imbalance manifests itself physically. So it's your poor physical body that's got to suffer when there's imbalances in every single different area. Okay. The low vibrations, when you think about something that doesn't make you feel so good, right? So you've got anger or hatred or judgment or fear or worry, anything that makes you feel heavy, that is a low vibration. Anything that is a high vibration makes you happy. So you've got love and you've got joy and you've got happiness in there. And that's what makes you feel elated, right? You feel nice and light when you feel these higher vibrations. That's a shift in your consciousness. It's a shift in your vibrations. Because every thought, word, or action that we make, every single one has a specific resonance. Everything works off vibration. It's a vibrational life that we're in. So 24 hours a day, whatever we are vibrating, we attract to us. So if we are really stuck full of anger, we emanate the vibration of anger 24/7. And life brings us exactly what we ask for. And what we're asking for is in the form of vibration. So if we are stuck with anger, we'll create more people and situations to make us angry. But if we're full of love and joy, then that is what we create. We will create more people and situations in our life to make us feel more joy and more love. So that's the difference with the low vibrations. It's when they say, "Are you feeling low?" Yes, you're not feeling very good. You're feeling off your game. You're feeling pretty heavy. And then people will say, "Oh, you're on a high." Absolutely, because I'm milking these high vibrations and it's making me feel really good. So basically that's the difference between the low and the high vibrations.
Okay. So is that kind of like, it's almost like self-fulfilling prophecy, sort of. It's like if you it's whatever you're looking for is, you'll find it, kind of thing, right? If you're out there and you're pissed off because the guy cut you off in traffic or whatever, or so you dropped your sandwich and it landed face down on the sidewalk, and so you didn't get to eat your lunch, or like anything, and then if you stew on that, it's just going to make it worse. You're just making more room for, is that what you're talking, making more room for those emotions to invade you versus
I'll give you an example. My husband, when he's driving his car, he always comes home and complains that people hog the fast lane, and they tend to do that a lot in Texas, but they do that in Texas, and we're either just going to have to get used to it, But he always comes home and he says, that there was these cars in front and they wouldn't pull over, and he gets, gets a little bit uppity about it. And I said, you're attracting these people to pull out in front of you and stay there because you're expecting it. That's your expectation, so that's what you're getting. Does that make sense?
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, I've heard of a lot of, different books I've read over the years with, Dale Carnegie and Norman Vincent Peale, and, the law of attraction and the law, like all the different things. So I'm okay. I gotcha. It's just, I think you're just stating it a little different than what I've heard it before, but yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Well, it's a law of vibration. And the law of attraction, in my understanding and my perception of it, is actually a sub-law of the law of vibration, because everything is energetic. So if you don't understand the law of vibration, then the law of attraction isn't going to work for you.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. All right. That makes sense. I could see the correlation there. Yeah. Okay. So, so what led you to establish Voyage of Transcendence, and what's the mission there?
The mission?
Yeah.
I wanted to create a company or a name that can help people to transcend whatever suffering they're going through. So Voyage is just another name for journey, because we're all on this journey. We're all on this voyage. And our goal here really is just to get rid of the low density, the low vibration things, and actually raise our consciousness and start living a better life. So whatever it is that people are experiencing, whatever it is that they're creating in their life, whether it be, fear or addiction or trauma of any kind, whether it's some kind of pain or suffering or tragedy that they need to get over, I want them to have somewhere to go so that somebody can help them, because I have been through these things myself. I have personal experience in it. I haven't gone to school for 4 years, got myself a degree, but I've had no experience with any of it. I've actually lived it, and I've actually found ways of coming through it. And I want to be able to gel with the people, you know, to actually resonate and hope that I resonate with them as somebody that can possibly help them through what it is they want to get rid of.
I love that, because obviously experience is I mean, I've heard this phrase, experience is the best teacher, but is it really? It's experience can be the best teacher, but it could also be the most painful teacher and the most impactful teacher, and it can really rock your world, you know. So my preferred method is to learn from other people's experience,
from others,
when possible. So I'm so glad that you are doing that, because it's letting us learn from your experience, and learn from what you've figured out and what you're willing to share with us. And so I love that.
Sometimes I think that, you know, actually living it, you know, experiencing it firsthand is actually definitely the best teacher. I really feel that there is no better way of, I think, you know, gelling with somebody, like I said, so that they know I'm not just talking from a textbook from college. I've actually been through it. I've lived it. I've done it. I've seen it done. I got the t-shirt, as they say.
Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah, I totally agree with that. But I mean, as far as the people that you're trying to help, right? That's for their benefit, right? So so instead of saying, yeah, I mean, that's my point is, you know, you've got all the experience, you've learned it through experience in your life. And so you are putting it out there for and being able to bring other people in and show them your experience and say, learn from this, you know, so that they don't have to go through it themselves and learn it the hard way is, I guess, what I was getting at. But yeah, I mean, you're right. You're right. Personal experience is always the best, but sometimes if you can skip that and learn from somebody else.
Sometimes it's a lot less painful, but sometimes we've got to go through the pain before we actually realize that we need to make a change. You know, sometimes you've got to be on that precipice, because only when you're on the precipice, sometimes you actually find the will to change. Yeah.
That's true. That's true. You're right. Yeah. In some areas, I mean, I'm just, every time you're talking about that, I'm thinking back over the last decades of my life going, yep, that was dumb. I had to learn that from my own experience. Nope, I learned that from somebody else. I escaped that tragedy.
It's awareness, isn't it? And that's what I talk a lot to my clients about. You know, you've got to be aware that there's something not right before you can fix it. You know, if you are either in denial or you're not aware of something that's wrong, then there's no point in telling you, because you won't understand it. You've got to realize for yourself, you know, and have that awareness, that aha moment, that light bulb moment. Can I tell you a little bit about my light bulb moment? Coming towards the end of my previous marriage, I was taking my kids to karate class twice a week. My two young ones, they were about 4 and 7 at the time. And I would take them twice a week to this karate class. And one day I got thrown so badly, I landed very heavily on my right hip and I broke a disc in my back. I broke a disc. I had the most horrible sciatica for about 18 months. So cutting a long story short, after 4 months lying flat on the couch because I couldn't walk for long and I certainly couldn't sit, I had to go back to work. I was called in to see a counsellor because they wanted to make sure that I didn't need any different accommodations for coming back to work. So I went in to see this counsellor, sat down in front of her, and the first thing she asked me, Jeff, was, so how are things at home? And that was like my cue just to verbally dump on this poor woman. That was my volcano erupting. All my emotions were coming out and I told her everything. I sat there, blurted it all out. I was full of snot and snivel. It wasn't a very attractive sight. I needed to get this out. And she said to me after about 20 minutes when I calmed down, she said, okay, so how long have you been abused? And I said to her, I've not been abused. He's never hit me. She says, no. She says, you have the wrong perception. She says, you think abuse is only physical. She says, abuse can come in many forms. She says, from what you have told me, you have been mentally, emotionally, psychologically, and verbally abused. And that was, everything just stopped within me. That was my light bulb moment, my epiphany, if you like. That was my time to stop and think, wow. That was when some of the other emotions came up, the anger at my husband at the time, because of the way I've just realized that he'd been treating me, but also anger towards myself, Jeff, for allowing it.
Yeah.
And that was my realization, was that I had only been abused in those ways because I allowed it to happen. I did not stand up for myself and say, you need to stop this right now. You can't speak to me like that, and I'm not accepting it anymore. I did not have the wherewithal or the understanding or the respect for myself, to stand up for myself and say, I don't like what you're saying and I don't like what you're doing. So that was my light bulb moment. My awareness then kicked in tenfold, and within 3 weeks our marriage was done. That's how fast it moved. It changed me overnight.
Man.
I went from a -7 to a +20 in energy, let me tell you, because my life was changing.
It's amazing how it can, can
that's motivational in itself. Mm-hmm.
Yes, 100%. Well, you know what? I can't wait to hear more about that. I do have another question about that, sort of, that I want to get to, but I want to go to a break real quick, and then we will come back. We're going to talk more about that story, and then I have a couple other questions for you that I want to make sure I get out there. So stick around, everybody. Thank you, Dawn, and we will be right back here in a couple of minutes.
The ClubFit Home Portable Gym System is a groundbreaking new system that can help everyone at any fitness level. You can be the happy, fit person you always wanted to be, and ClubFit can make that happen by helping you get the body you deserve in the time you can spare. With workouts ranging from cardio, core, to total body toning, it's easy to get started. Start taking care of you today. To make the change, go to clubefit.com now.
All right, everybody. I have something that I want to talk about, and then we're going to get right back to talking to Dawn, because this is going to be an amazing episode, and I can't wait for you to hear what we're going to talk about next. But I want to touch base with something, and I want to introduce you to a place in Portland, Oregon, called the Porch. The Porch is a coffee space that was created for. Brett and Molly run the Porch, and they are incredible people, and they created a space so that people could show up and be seen. And it is actually a nonprofit. The Porch is a nonprofit that seeks to actually train and give opportunity to those that maybe have been overlooked, in regular society, and maybe they don't look the same as everybody else, or maybe they have had a little bit rougher go of it, and so people have kind of not looked at them the same. The Porch is not like that. The Porch accepts you and wants you to come in and be a part of what they're doing. And the hospitality they have in there is just incredible. You can be a part of that story wherever you live by going to their website, which is theporchcoffeepdx.com. And you can order coffee from them, and it is phenomenal, by the way. I'm a coffee nerd myself, and this one right here, this Kenya, the one from Kenya, the orange one behind me, I'm telling you, I've never had coffee like this. It tastes like, it almost has the aftertaste of like butter. It's so good. And I'm a coffee guy, so I love this stuff. And I was just in Portland a couple of weeks ago and got to visit with Brett and Molly, and they're phenomenal. You're gonna love them. So anyway, the porchcoffeepdx.com is where you want to go. Coffees are available there and can be shipped anywhere in the country. So definitely check it out. And with that, I'm going to bring Dawn back, and we're going to get to it here. Thank you, Dawn. Appreciate it for being here. I'm so glad you're here. This is so cool. This is not a subject that I have talked about much. And so I feel like this is like a learning curve for me, that, that I'm still kind of in the middle of the curve here. So, so thank you for bearing with me and being patient with my questions here. But sometimes I wanted to ask you this. Sometimes when we have kind of a nondescript issue, like I feel stuck, or my like me personally, I had a twitch. I had like a tick that like wouldn't go away for like 2 years. And I didn't used to have it, and I had it, and then I didn't have it. And it can be hard to find like the right modality to have the breakthrough to get past it. Part of that might be just skepticism, right? Like some of it, if they're like unfamiliar with what you're doing, or they're not quite sure, they're not really open to it. So how did you discover energy healing, and what perceptions or myths did you have to, because I'm sure you had the same, I mean, at the very beginning, I'm sure you were kind of felt the same way, right? So how did you, for those of us that are still not there yet, maybe, how did you break through that and alter your thinking enough to be able to even be willing to try it, you know?
Well, I actually knew nothing about energy healing. I kind of fell into it. What actually, you were asking me how I discovered these modalities, and it was purely by chance, if I could say that. My mother and my sister and we used to have a Tuesday night together, and we went to the local college for evening classes, manicures and pedicures, and we did a whole year's worth of modules just to get out and do something different. So it was great fun. And we were coming towards the end of the year, and we thought, well, what are we going to do now? There wasn't anything else on at the college. And I was talking to my boss the next day at work, telling her that I was on the lookout for something else. Mm-hmm. And the girl sitting behind me, she said, my neighbour's running a Reiki class this weekend if you're interested.
What?
Okay, well, can you give me her number? I'll give her a call. I called that girl on a Thursday afternoon, turned up on a Saturday morning having absolutely no idea what I was doing. Absolutely no idea. Now, this was kind of early, mid-90s, so there was no being able to, really internet search, because it was just, really starting to take off, and there wasn't a lot of families connected. So I had no idea what I was going into. And it absolutely blew me away. It absolutely blew me away. After that weekend, I was a completely different person. I was just so much more relaxed, and I started to see things the way they really were. So I didn't research something, I just happened upon it. And they say, Jeff, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And that is exactly what's happened to me virtually since the moment I discovered Reiki. It was Reiki that found me. It was absolutely what I needed to catapult me to the next level of my own healing. And that's exactly what I did. And I just took it, a day at a time after that. I didn't, have any, to bust through any myths. I didn't have perceptions of it, like I said, because I wasn't even aware of what it was.
Right.
So, and I know I was aware of energy healing, I suppose, just a little bit. And I was also aware of other people's opinions on it, which was not favorable at that time. No. Let me just say that. But me being the rebel that I am, decided that I would go try it anyway. Why not? In for a penny, in for a pound. But it's definitely a good step for me to make.
Sometimes being a rebel is cool. Don't worry about it. It's all right.
Yeah.
Some of the greatest people in history are known to us because they stepped out and were rebels. So
yeah, absolutely. I don't think I've ever gone with the flock, so to speak. I've really thought, oh, what's over here? And wandered off down another rabbit hole. That's been me my entire life. I've not really been one for following the in thing, but that's just me, the rebel.
Me neither. I've never really been the one that chases the fad and chases the nope. Me neither. I find what I like, and I stick with it. And if you don't
find
like
your niche. You find what resonates with you. I'm a big frequency thing. Find what resonates with you, what you feel, instinctively, is right for you. Yeah, your gut feel.
Yeah, and that saves you a lot of time too, because otherwise
Does.
you're chasing your tail, chasing all the fads, chasing all the trends.
It's
And
your inner
like,
knowing.
yeah, and probably most of them aren't going to stick anyway. So you've wasted all that time and probably a lot of money, you
Very
know.
true.
And so yeah, no, I love it. I love it. So because not everybody's like that, you know. A lot of people like to explore and chase the trends and see what happens. No, that's not me.
Not me
So
either.
yeah. Well, well, first of all, can you describe, I almost got ahead of myself. Can you just describe kind of the approach that you use to help individuals kind of navigate and work with those vibrational, like dissolve those vibrational patterns you were saying, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'd probably be better to say that, you know, you've got to be ready to make some changes in your life, you know, before you embark on anything like this. You have to be willing to change. You have to be at the stage in your life where you think this needs to be fixed, or I'm going downhill and there's going to be nothing else that I think I can do, and I need to step out and get some help. You've got to be prepared to be brutally honest with yourself and your therapist or your energy healer or whoever it is that you're going to see. Because if you don't say the truth, then it's going to take a lot longer to find your issue.
Yep.
So really, my approach is threefold, Jeff.
Okay.
The first is education, the second is investigation, and the third is vibration. So let's go back to the education part.
Yeah.
And this is where I educate about the law of attraction, everything being energy, and energy is everything. It's about helping them to understand that they create their life, but just because they create their life, it doesn't mean to say that that has to continue in that same vein. It's a choice that they have to make. I was, just before I went to see the counsellor in my previous marriage, I had been reading a Louise Hay book called You Can Heal Your Life. And I think the third chapter in said, you create your life. You're responsible for creating your own life. And that really horrified me. I threw that book across the living room and I didn't go near it for about 3 weeks. It fell down the back of the couch and I thought, no way did I create this accident to break that disc in my back and cause me such horrible chronic pain for this length of time. There is no way I did that. But now I understand that I was not paying attention in my marriage to the things that weren't right. I was brushing them under the rug. Remember me telling you? I was brushing them under the rug. So as soon as I realized that it's got my attention now, I created this so that it would stop me in my tracks and allow me to think about what wasn't going right in my life. So that's partly the education. The investigation side is pretty intuitive, in all honesty. It's more about asking lots and lots of questions. I really want to know about the first thing that they remember that happened to them that made them feel uneasy, that could have been traumatic to them. Now, that could be anything, Jeff. We all perceive something very, very differently. And this is all invisible. This is all inside. You don't see what's going on here. It's an individual in how they feel it and how they perceive it. So any form of trauma, which could be grief, it could be loss, it could be some kind of abuse, it can even be a physical accident where they have been, you know, physically injured and ended up in hospital per se.
Sorry, so could it be, I'm just trying to put this out there for all those that, you know, previous people I've had on the show, that like some of the invisible conditions that are out there, some of them have a lot to do with emotions. Some of them are very much physical. And so would this, like there's some people that have a lot of co-conditions, like some of them have 3 or 4 things going on, you know, that makes it almost literally impossible. Like I know one guy, bless his heart, I met him on social media, and it literally takes him an hour from him to get out of bed, an hour and almost all his energy to get out of bed and get to his chair in his living room. and then he has to sit there for an hour and rest before he does anything else, and because he's got so many physical things going on. And so, but I'm thinking what you're talking about with making your best life and some of these mental shifts that you're talking about, that could help even in that situation, because it could always be, you could always make it better mentally, right? No matter what's going on physically. Yeah.
Yeah. And removing the vibrations of whatever the cause is automatically removes the effect. And remember what I said, every imbalance manifests itself physically. If you clear emotional and mental imbalances, whatever those imbalances cause as a physical condition automatically disappear, because they can't exist, because the imbalance has been corrected. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So let me make sure I understand that. So if the problem, say, is physical, but it's caused by a blockage of something mental, but if it's not, if it's something purely physical, then it's a little different. But if it's something that was caused by a mental blockage and you clear that mental blockage, then the physical manifestation of that should go away. Is what you're saying. Okay.
Physical issues can manifest themselves like two ways. So any of the holistic imbalances manifest physically. And also in the physical body, if there's anything from the environment that can be upsetting to the physical body, like toxins, heavy metals, glyphosate, this type of thing, all these different bacteria and viruses, parasites, obviously that affects you physically. So it really is important to look holistically, and that's what I do. So the investigation looks into the environment, their lifestyle, what it is that they eat, the places that they eat, whether they're organic or not. That takes part of the environment. And then it's the emotional side, it's the more holistic side. So I look at their childhood, find out anything that's upset them. So if they've lost somebody close to them, if they've been in an accident, if they've been abused. And sometimes they don't know that they've been abused, because it could be that horrific, the mind just shuts down and there's no memory recall from it at all, just to keep that person safe. That's when my intuition comes in, and my intuition guides me to the right place and to the right incident, to when this originally started, and then find out what emotion and what vibration it is that's behind this physical effect. And once you sever the link to that and remove that specific vibration from both the body and from the mind, from the subconscious mind, then the condition starts to clear up, sometimes over days, sometimes weeks, depending on how deep-rooted it has been. And I could just let me go back to what you were saying about somebody that has so many physical conditions. I've seen where people are so wrapped up in really, really horrible vibrations, judgment, criticism, hatred, anger, envy, these type of feelings and emotions. And once they are removed, they start to feel so much better within themselves, and the physical conditions start to clear up. So it really, really is of paramount importance to keep your emotions in check. Always be aware of what's going on, and try and address it rather than store it, to be honest with you. Anger, for example, if you come across something that makes you angry, run into your bedroom and stick the pillow over your face and have a good screaming fit and beat the pillow or beat the bed, whatever it is you want to do. You've got to get this out. You've got to get this energy out, and you have to express it. And that's what our bodies are meant to do. And if we don't do that on a regular basis, then that's when we start to see problems over time.
Oh my gosh, I totally get that. You know what? I know, because I always thought it was crazy that I did that. But what you talk about, like going in your bedroom, putting a pillow over your face and screaming at the top of your lungs, I'm not gonna lie. I've done that. I've done that plenty over the last.
And don't you feel better after it? You do feel a bit lighter, don't you?
I mean, you're exhausted. I mean, sometimes, but it's, and then if you're really good, then maybe you pass out and you take a nap for 20 minutes and you wake up, you feel like a new person,
Yes.
but yeah, it does. I don't know. Yeah, it is. It kind of releases whatever. And then you're, whatever you were upset about.
All these emotions are
remember.
very physically draining. They are so tiring. They drain you big time. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So I tell you what, we are going to go to one more break. I know this time goes so fast. It's ridiculous.
It does.
You blink and we're already almost done, but I'm going to go to one more break, and then I want to talk about that a little more on the other side of the break, because there's so much in this society that kind of stigmatizes all that, like, oh, you're not supposed to do that, or like mental health challenges and all the different stuff, like you're not supposed to have those, and so we're gonna talk about that a little bit on the other side of the break, because I think we need to, and then I want to talk about my favorite subject, which is hope. So we're gonna tackle those in just a minute. On the other side of the break, stick around, don't go anywhere. We'll see you soon.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Greg Russell. I'm the host of TechnologyTuesday.com. You can find us on the Conscious Business TV network every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the latest resources to help you make more money in your business. Join us on E360 TV. Come on.
Right. Welcome back, everybody. I am I'm kind of excited about this third segment because it always, this question that I'm going to ask you it applies to everybody in every situation for everybody's life. But everybody answers it different, and I love hearing the different answers. So we'll get to and then we want to get into how people can contact you, and then some stories. But Dawn, how do you, especially through all those years of craziness and abuse and getting out of that and learning everything you've learned, how do you, from day to day, how do you find hope?
Well, we all have bad days, don't we? All of us have bad days. And I think my changing in thinking over the last few years has really helped. It's about now I understand that I have a choice to make every single day. We don't just make choices about what we're taking out the freezer for dinner or when we want to go and see this movie. It's not about that. It's about choosing to live the life you want to live.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a choice every single morning whether I'm going to have a good day or whether I'm going to have a bad day. And I have to make that decision. And I always choose I'm going to have a good day, of course. But sometimes when things don't go right through the day, it can be a little frustrating. Of course, it can be frustrating when things are not going the way you want them to go, or they're holding you back. Absolutely. I've had many of those days. Me and tech just don't go hand in hand. That's for another day. But you've got to look on it as a challenge. If you can switch your thinking from that victim mentality and feeling like you're a victim of something, or life, for example, if you can switch that round and ask yourself, okay, what's this teaching me? Because maybe it's just as simple as you're exhausted, you need to sit down for a couple of hours, or you need to go back to bed and get some more rest. It can be as simple as that. But more often than not, it's about the choice you make, because you can choose to have a good day, and you can also choose to continue suffering. It's always about choice.
Yeah, no, you're right. 100%. I have something I've probably said a million times, and I put it as a quote in our journal that we wrote earlier this year, but your attitude is the only thing you have 100% control over.
Yes.
Literally, it's the only thing you have control over. You can choose, you choose to have a good one, choose to have a bad one,
Yeah.
It's still a choice.
It's also about how you respond to something rather than react to it.
Yes.
If you react negatively, then things are not going to go well. But if you respond to it in a way, with conscious awareness of, okay, this is happening, what am I learning from this? And look at something maybe even a bit more logically. It could just be that you've forgotten to plug something into the back of your laptop. It could be that simple. And yet you're getting yourself, all upset about it. We cannot control what is outside of us. We can only control what's within ourselves.
Right. 100%. Yep. And it's funny because I think I mentioned this before the break, but we were going to talk about something along these lines. But this society that we're in right now is so bipolar in a way that I'm not literally. I'm not trying to nobody get upset. I'm not talking about bipolar, but it's in the sense that it's either really hot or really cold, or really, it's black or it's white. There's no in between. And people with like mental health challenges, or people with emotional challenges that are stuck in some of these areas that you're talking about. There's such a stigma to that nowadays that people it almost adds to the problem, right? So how, sometimes you have to get through that too, to even address the problem. You have to find the problem first, but is there, I'm trying to think, do you have like success stories, or, we've been talking about the problem the whole show here, but I want to talk about like what you've had people that you've brought through this and have success stories. Let's talk about some of those. Those are always fun.
Sure. And I have to say, when you mentioned earlier on about a twitch, I was like, oh, I've never had anybody that's had a twitch. I've never had anybody come through, but now I'm aware of it. I bet you I tracked them. We'll need to wait and see what happened there. But I've got a few, success stories. I think everybody that I've worked with, I've been able to help in one way, shape, or form.
Nice.
People tell me how much better that they feel, even just within a couple of sessions. One that comes to mind was a lady, and this was a few years ago. She was complaining about tightness and pain in her chest, and she'd been having these really sharp pains. And of course, she was obviously worried that it was to do with her heart. So she going to the hospital, and she had all the checks done, and they're like, your heart's strong as a horse, nothing wrong with your heart. And I could tell that there wasn't anything wrong with her heart just by talking to her. So we dug a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper and a wee bit deeper after that, to find that 6 years prior to meeting her husband had died in an accident very suddenly. And then about 3 months after that, she lost her father to cancer. Ooh. So she had these two horrible losses in a very, very short time period. That woman was heartbroken. And this literal, it's symbolic, but she was actually heartbroken. So I cleared the trauma in those vibrations from those two, you know, from grief and from loss, etc. And there was a few other things lurking in there. And she called me back 2 weeks later and said, I have got no more pain across my chest. And it had just completely gone, and it's never come back, because we got to the root cause of the problem, which was an emotional problem. It wasn't anything that was absolutely physical.
Wow.
Another one is my husband. He had just all of a sudden had knee pain coming up, and I worked on him. It was to do with, you know, some kind of stubbornness, and there was a little bit of resentment and anger towards, you know, I won't say who, but there was anger and resentment in there, and I cleared that for him, and it's got so much better.
Wow.
I have also helped one woman with cervical cancer. This was a couple of years ago now. And she had been going through treatment for about, I think, probably 2 years before that, and it just didn't seem to disappear.
Yeah.
So I obviously can't take credit for the whole thing, but I think I really helped her find the root cause of what was causing it. And I think she called me about 3 months after that to say that she had got the all clear for the first time in years, and she was just so delighted with it, and it's never been back.
Oh,
so
I love it. That is
3 good examples.
I mean, that's amazing. I love that cervical cancer one is cool because it's a very physical thing, and there was probably other factors that helped her, but I mean, maybe, but that's so important to have the right mindset and the right attitude. And
well, if you get to the root cause of it, like I said earlier, the symptoms have no choice but to disappear, because the imbalance no longer exists. Therefore, neither does the physical condition.
I love it. It's so simple. It's not easy. It's not always easy, but it's so simple.
It's simple.
There's a big difference between those two. So how do people get a hold of you? We got about 2 minutes left. How do people get a hold of you?
Well, you can see my website across the bottom there, dawnlivingstone.com. There's a contact me button just a little bit down the page. You can click there and send me an email. Or you can email me directly, dawnlivingstonevot@gmail.com, and I'll be able to help you with anything. If you've got some questions, just reach out. Absolutely. And if you want, I have a free mini course. And if you'd like to do the free mini course, then you can email me or contact me on either way. And I will send you a link, and you can go ahead and enter my membership area, and you can go through that course. It explains a bit more about how I work, what it is that I do, and how it all works. And there is a free energy healing audio file in there, and also a bonus subliminal healing file. So it would be yours with my compliments if you wish.
I love it. Is there anything that they would want to put in the subject line that would be like, this is what I'm like, just email you and put
on the subject line, you can say, I saw you on invisible condition.
There you go. Put invisible condition in the subject line. There you go. That'll work. That'll be good. Oh, awesome. Oh, that'll be good. Yeah. I hope people just flood your inbox. That would be phenomenal. Dawn, thank you so much for being here. This has been so good, and I'm not gonna lie, this has been a subject that I've learned a lot, because I've gone from zero to where I am. So yeah, it's better it's easier when you learn from zero, I guess. So but,
I don't think, because you can't see it, but it is an invisible condition, because it's in areas that you can't see. So
100%. And so that means it could affect, and this is an invisible condition. This is people have condition, like you didn't even know it was a condition. You didn't know it was a thing until somebody told you. So sometimes that's what it takes. So but thank you for being here, and thank you.
You're so welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you for asking me.
I appreciate it. Absolutely. All right, everybody. Man, she's so cool. Maybe we got to do that again sometime, because I'm sure we didn't cover everything we could have. So who knows? We'll see. Maybe we'll just throw that out there and see what happens. So anyway, hey, if you guys have a favorite episode, like it, share it, subscribe, share it out. If it's your favorite episode, it's somebody else's too. So share it out there on all your social media. Join us for our next show on Tuesday, December 5th. And I will look forward to seeing you there. Until then, have an amazing day, and we'll see you next time.